We engage in authentic conversations about our weekly entrepreneurial goals while exploring business, failures, success, and personal growth.
We're going to continue to work and get better at this, so thanks for tuning in.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Our vision will highlight a diversity of guests who are creatives, industry leaders, and individuals creating positive change within our communities. Join the Our Vision podcast on our shared journey to becoming better humans. It's not only our vision, but it's your vision too. Let's get into it. What's happening?
I don't know. Not a whole lot. It's a really relaxed day today, wasn't it?
I think so.
It's like a real Saturday.
Yeah.
I didn't do much of anything.
What did we do?
We didn't do much. We ate food, drank some coffee, and watched some funny videos.
We did that. Well, I cleaned out my Google Drive a little bit more.
Yeah, you did more than I did.
There's too much in there.
Google Drive from which account? The old account or the new account?
The old account. So I had to transfer all my files from the old account to the new account.
I was reading an article yesterday or today, and it was like video myths, like things that people believe that can happen. And that was one of the ones. Fix it in post.
Video myths?
Myth.
Oh, myths. I thought you said video myths.
And one of the things was fix it in post. No, not everything can be fixed in post, okay?
No.
I forget what the other one was. There was like 10 or 11 like different things that people tend to believe. Oh, that you don't need any outside help if you're creating a video. You can do it all on your own. That's not always true.
No.
Quiet.
Losing my
Quiet
train of thought.
A train of thought. Years and years ago, I heard some guy talking about like it's okay to have a quiet moment every once in a while. Even if you're in front of people.
I have too many of those moments.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's because greatness is going to come out. You just got to wait longer for the greatness. That's all.
No dead air for this.
It takes a lot of talent to fill hours and hours of airtime. When you hear these guys on the radio and everything, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Every day they get on the radio and they spew something out. And
We've never done this except tested a few times. So.
Yeah, we don't even have a name yet, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We just want to make content and we'll see what happens. I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
But you agree with me too, like the longer you do something, the easier it becomes. You become better at it, more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be good.
How do you feel about the setup? It's not for me. It's not that comfortable to have to look over at you like this. So we might have to go back to what our original plan was.
It's not, but I think overall it's going well as far as communication goes back and forth with me. I don't think it's as comfortable. I agree with you.
I don't like having to turn my head because you can't really adjust your body on this couch.
Well, I think one of the things we're fighting right now is space. Finding a good space to do it. I wonder if we shouldn't do it in the other room. Set something up in there.
Well, the only thing with that room is there's nothing to really kind of stop the sound from bouncing around. That's why I want to do it in here.
Okay.
Because we have this couch that kind of softens the echo and this carpet.
Well, I agree.
And there it's like...
You think it'd be too echoey?
And our tenants are right below us and I don't want to like
okay.
That's where their living room is. That's the only reason I'd rather do it in here. And I think we're fine in here.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
more comfortable in here. But
I would figure space-wise, though, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but
because the camera angle, too, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would set it up to where...
Well, we could go back to what we were doing before and kind of set it up over in the corner side and then get the wide angle of this room. And then you could hang out in your chair again, and I could just hang out on the chase.
Yeah.
And then another thing is if we have a guest, they can sit here or
in the chair,
leather chair.
Yeah, that'll work.
So, but I noticed now that we're doing it here, it's kind of weird and awkward.
Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it's not bad. Not for the first episode.
Use my neck muscles and turn sideways.
Yeah.
But I do think that it seems comfortable sitting closer to you talking, though, for something like this, for some reason. That's one positive about the setup.
I did like how we set it up before when we were working on this property. With that little table, it was very simple, but we could angle ourselves because we were sitting in chairs. So, but that'll come. I mean, it's going to change over time. We're not going to be here forever. So,
no.
So, Joe, tell me about this place that we bought.
So,
you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I do want to talk about it because today when we were revisiting the kitchen to redo the kitchen, I started getting excited again. The possibilities of getting that done and moving forward. But so we're in Sandusky, Ohio. Fucking great place, isn't it?
Yeah.
We live right near the lake. We got the islands. We got downtown is pumping some money in, so that's nice. It looks nicer and got bike paths and more foot traffic and everything like that. So the town feels a little better.
It's improved.
Well, for me,
enormously.
I came back from West Palm Beach area. And one of my first assignments for photography was I don't know if I ever even told you this. Some guy had like an advertisement, like, I don't even know what he was fucking trying to do, but he hired me to go do some photography down at the old winery. What was that called? The Underground at that time? Like where they played music and heavy metal and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I went down there to get like a shot. He had it lined up with the owner that I would go down and get a few shots, and they were going to put him in the magazine for this advertisement, for local advertisement in the area, Northeast Ohio. He was trying to sell it. And I come out of that building, and there was like, I don't know, 30 or 40 people fighting, like one street over. And one of the sheriffs had looked familiar to me. I'd known him, not quite sure how. And I said, what the hell is going on? And he's like, no, this is like almost every weekend. And they were having all kinds of fights downtown. And I think this is about 14 years ago. And I don't know, I'd been gone for a few years, and I didn't hang out in Sandusky all that much. And I was like, man, this just, I don't want to be around this shit. You know, it's like depressing when I came back. And then, so anyways, I guess that's one of the improvements I've seen is just the, how people are utilizing the space now. And I don't know, it's really nice.
Yep.
So anyways, we're, so we bought, that's one of the reasons we looked at a rental property here, was that we seen the potential it was improving around here, right? Wouldn't you agree? At least that's what I saw, and from talking to you, that's what I remember us both agreeing on.
Yep.
So saying that, so we're in the space right now where we're doing this, and fixed up this place, the upper unit. Had nasty carpet in it. The wood floors were, they're anywhere from 70 to 100 years old. The house is going to be 100 years old next year. 2023, I think. It's an old stone home, and to me, it feels like a very sturdy home. Like even on the second floor, everything, not much of the plaster is cracking and that kind of thing. So really excited to start doing shit again on the house, because we stopped right before the holidays. So it's time to kick it up in gear again and get it done, because we got about, that's the other thing that made me think of this. And you said we want to talk about it. We're not going to be here forever. So we moved in here on. When did we move in? September?
I thought it was
October, November.
We took ownership. Was it August 9th?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When did we move in? November.
Well, it was.
Did we move in?
It's a little later, but I don't remember exactly when we moved in. But we have to live in it for a year.
Yeah, we took possession of this unit though in November, I think. October 30th was the last date she was.
I don't remember dates anymore.
I'm pretty sure it was October.
I don't even know what today is.
So anyways, we won't be here. Hopefully we will start looking for another duplex after tax season. And
duplex, single family, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever works out. So in this area, in this city, the big thing is Cedar Point. So it's like high tourism in the summertime, because winters here it gets super cold. Right now it's like freezing degrees out. It's like bitterly cold right now.
It's very cold right now, but it's
been mild for the most part this winter so far, but yeah, that's the benefit of purchasing property in this area because of Cedar Point, and plus like the opportunity to Airbnb, and that wasn't our original plan.
Not at all. But then as we started moving,
I knew about it, but I didn't know much about it. We looked into like just rental properties, but then we started exploring the idea and the potential of having an Airbnb
because of the area that we live in.
Exactly.
Right. Because what you're saying, and we know the numbers too. We should have thought of this, but we didn't at first. But
yeah,
with Lake Erie Shores and Island numbers, I read one time it was like 10.2 million people a year come to this area, which is a high destination area, which makes it good.
Wasn't it like listed as one of the biggest tourism areas in the world?
It was, but I
don't
know.
I don't know how accurate the statistics are on that, but I remember hearing that.
Yeah, I remember hearing that, but I don't remember where that came from. But it seems plausible.
Yeah.
So like we have a Route 250 that runs through Sandusky. It's all malls and like stores and like I don't know, like box stores and shit. But anyways, on that they put in water slide parks. Oh man, is that close, Brad?
Joe's like, don't move the arm. I sat my coffee next to the arm of this
that was really
mic
close,
and almost knocked it off onto a brand new area rug.
Let's make it an hour without.
Can add some brown into that rug, right?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't notice it.
Shit.
So, anyways, there's the Cedar Point. We have the water parks, right? The Lake Erie's Island, Kelly Island, and
Kelly's Island,
and
Putin Bay.
And is there anything else that people come?
Those are the main two
and
islands.
Then we, where we used to live downtown Sandusky, we have a Good Time, which is a Good Time and Jet Express.
Yeah.
And what's the other one that's over in Marble?
So they're boats. So the Good Time one is what do they call that? It's an excursion vessel.
I think so.
Yeah, because they don't call them ferry boats. They call them excursion vessels, I believe. The Jet Express is basically what would you call that kind of boat? It's a jet boat.
That's a ferry.
It's like a huge
ferry that takes people back and forth. That's how I look at it.
And it's like but
it's quick.
What it's called.
It's quicker.
It's powered by jets.
Yeah. It's a quicker ride. And it's enclosed too. So that's
like
nice.
Water jet propelled motors.
It's double decked, but you have an enclosed area on the first level.
Yeah. What would you call that style of boat though? With the two
catamaran?
Yeah, it's like a catamaran jet boat.
They have a special name for it. I know it's
yeah. But look it up, Jet Express.
It's like what that guy in the back was. Anyway, so
another thing, the cool thing about doing an Airbnb in this city is they partnered with Cedar Point, the city did, and now they're working on having a boat specifically that transports people,
which they used to have that
on the bay back and forth from Cedar Point to Sandusky.
I don't remember what year they stopped doing that, but that's it's a good memory for a lot of people in the area that used to ride, locals that used to ride over too.
Yeah.
So that
connects it with downtown. So I think it's another reason why.
Yeah, so the islands, Cedar Point.
Stupid of us not to do this.
There are several individuals in the community are working towards making improvements in downtown area. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot going on. So it did make sense for us to purchase in this area, and we're excited to purchase more. And hopefully we will figure out how to Airbnb it and continue to move forward on that. So I did, like I told Brad last week, I was telling you, I was on Bigger Pockets site. I came across Airbnb was the site that they like to use for Airbnb research. And so you plug in like your location and your house and the type of home you have and and like the area, and it'll spit back some numbers to you. You can do it for free. And I checked it out, and it was like 58% occupancy for Airbnb in our area, which is really good. It's like over 150 days. So when you run those kind of numbers, that really makes sense for us to Airbnb. So
yeah.
But we still have quite a bit of work here to do.
We're thinking at least 2 times or 3 times what we would get for rent normally.
Yeah, I think
that was our original plan was just to rent it out as a multi-family unit. So there's 2 units in this duplex.
I believe that we'll be able to do 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Even 2 times is still good.
Yeah.
But over what we anticipated. So we'll see.
So really the whole thing behind what we're doing is, and hopefully we can help other people kind of maybe guide them. We're still kind of new to this and we're learning. So maybe as we learn, we can share valuable information with how we're doing it, what we failed at, what we're succeeding at with.
We're keeping track of
investment properties. We're so Joe and I both have businesses. I do video production. Joe does photography, and we work together on video as well. So we're taking that, and then from there, I mean, that's one source of income, and then also kind of pushing it into like real estate investing and other investment opportunities. So there's multiple streams of income, so we can have a little bit of freedom in our lives.
Yeah. Well, and we're hyper focused this year on we've been doing this for several years, but this year, you were saying helping people, so we're documenting the cost that we spent so far in the upper unit. So Brad's really good at keeping everything organized, and so you have everything in the drive, like what we spend, and so it's really organized, very nice. So upstairs, though, I mean, even if I just had to guess, and I'm gonna guess, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, like we came into the place and have started. We've finished the living room. I would say we're pretty much finished. We have a door and we need to put up some blinds and stuff like that. But pretty much this is done. The dining room or the entranceway room, that's done. We have that room done, the bedroom done, and your bedroom done. So the 2 bedrooms are done. Now all we have left is the kitchen and the bathroom, and the hallway, the entranceway. But I would say we probably have spent under $2,500, like fixing the area up. So would you agree about $2,500
that we've spent so far? Yeah, I think that's what we were kind of.
It's close.
That's what our idea was. I don't know exactly what it was, but I think it's around that.
Close to that.
25 to 3.
And
something like that
$2,500 and the labor that we put in has made a tremendous. Like for me, I feel really good in this space as far as like how it looks and how it feels and the cleanliness of it, and then
looks better, smells better.
Yeah.
Just feels like home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like our whole thing was having places that we would want to live in. So not like, definitely wouldn't want to be slumlords, and all of you out there don't do that.
Well, that's the thing we learned.
There were a lot of properties that we saw that were
terrible.
And like how you would even like want somebody living in those spaces and profiting off people.
It was absolutely terrible. I went and looked at one house by myself because you were busy on a shoot, and they literally had plastic. They were paying between $650 or $750 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. And they had black trash bags over the windows to stay warm. That's how bad the windows were. And then, so Brad and I started learning how to, we didn't know anything about any of this. So I was looking up on the auditor site and here to find out these people, and after meeting the people, they lived in Florida and owned this home. And so they've owned the home clear and free since they had the home. They were pulling in, I don't know, I think it was either $17,000 or $24,000 a year and had put nothing into the home for over 7 years. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, how do you, I don't know. To me, it's just so foreign. Like, why wouldn't you take care of your investment? And I know people are going to break things and do things, but still, the gutters were off the house. It had I think I counted 22 windows that needed replaced. And that was one place we looked at. Another place that Brad and I went through, you remember the one they didn't even sleep upstairs. It felt shaky when you walked in the second level of the house. They wanted $40,000 more than what we paid for this place.
Was that the one
I don't want to say the street.
To downtown?
Yeah. And
with there was
the guy fell through the kitchen floor. Remember?
And then
that was 2 separate ones, right? No, there was. That was the same one. That was the same one. Yep.
Yeah, nice guy. And we talked to him, and he didn't want to bash the landlord, but he was like, I fell through the floor, and then the landlord wanted me to fix it. asked me to fix it.
Yeah.
They were going to pay him like $100 to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
So that was interesting. Like, I didn't realize you drive through your city and like we've seen a lot of improvement here, but you don't always realize what places look like on the inside. You'll look at a place like that other place we looked at. It looked great on the outside. You walk in and the foundation was like, remember it was pulled away?
Well, they look good from the photos.
Yeah.
And like if you drive by it quick, but you get close to it and you're like, oh, you start seeing the flaws. You start seeing the flaws in the porch, and then you go in and it's like it hasn't ever been updated.
Right.
You know?
Well, the foundation was completely separated, like it had dropped. So the wall and the floor were separated like for almost 2.5, 3 inches.
Yep.
You could have rolled a ball down the living room. It was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was interesting learning about that and seeing, like what's out there. But there's so many duplexes in Sandusky. Holy shit, when you get on the zoning map, Brad.
Yeah.
Multifamily home, which is good for us because, people's lives change and they decide to get out of the business and blah, blah, blah. So we got a lot of work to do still, but I think it's going to pay off. This next year is going to be
cracking at it again once we get caught up on our other work. Well, we kind of are, but yes.
Yeah, it's time
more to do.
It's time to get back at it and do it. So but there's reasons for that too that are on pause right now, but it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I'm excited about Sandusky, and I don't even play games, and I think you told me about it or somebody told me about it. I'm not sure. Was it it's a video game thing that they might open up around here.
Oh, that goes back to Cedar Point again.
Yeah.
I think
like tournament.
They're talking about opening up an esports complex. So it'd be like, I think if I'm correct, it's I think like video game tournaments and whatever else they do.
And it makes sense. Like I watch my grandkids and I talked to some other people about that, and they're like, "Oh yeah," I was talking to my son-in-law, and he's like, he knows people that have won money playing video games. I'm like, Jesus, I didn't even know that was a thing until a few years ago.
But I don't know if that has went through yet. I don't know if it's official or confirmed. So but at Cedar Point, they'll get what they want. Well,
they just struck up that $120 million deal, $4.5 million a year with the city, like with taxes and all that. So it's gonna be, I'm sure.
What was it? Was it $100 million?
Yeah, it was $120 million over the next 20 years, which works out to be like I think 4.5 or whatever, and million, which is exciting. They're talking about putting up a rec center and putting their name on it. Of course, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And then because we lost the YMCA, we don't have that anymore. So kind of nice to have
I want to talk about some other information that might be handy for people about Airbnbs. And this is something that we learned recently with working with the city was we didn't know what the rules and regulations were. So like if anybody's getting into an Airbnb or getting into Airbnbs, make sure you go to your city hall, talk to people that work there, find out like if it's even allowed, because they don't allow it in all cities. You have to make sure you have the right permits. You have to check your zoning because there's specific zoning requirements. And that's one thing that we have to do because it's not set in stone that we're going to be doing that yet. Doing Airbnb. So this property is a multifamily property and it's zoned that way, but we need to have it rezoned as commercial, correct?
Residential business, which is really good on this block. So we went up and talked to City Hall, checked it out, found out that you have to have a permit to do so. They started opening up the discussions in the paper. A couple months ago, Brad had sent me an article which made me more aware that we needed to talk to the city. So we went up and took the time to gather information from them, and they were very helpful. And fortunately, by dumb luck, we ended up buying on a block that makes sense to possibly be to rezone. More than half of our block is already residential business. We have commercial right behind us and next to us. So it's just like Brad said, and
that was just dumb luck.
Yeah, it wasn't. it's something we talked about doing in the process of doing. We did talk a little bit about Airbnb as a possibility, but we weren't strong on it.
We were focused on just rentals.
But at that point when we were talking about it, Brad and I had no idea that there was city ordinances. We had no clue about it. We didn't even think, not that we didn't know, we just didn't even think that far into it.
Yeah, we didn't even look into it very far into it.
So they were very helpful at the city hall. We got the paperwork. We started that process. We called the people down there and started working with them. And so now we're in the process of doing it. But if you get caught doing it in your city, we found out that it is a misdemeanor and it can go to court.
Yeah, I was like, and you get huge fines. Yeah, and like I said, it's different in every city, I think.
Yeah, there's different. And the more we read about it, the more I'm finding that out. But what's really nice is the city has got a map. You can go on, you can look. You can go into the zoning.
Our city does. I don't know other cities, but
that's what I'm talking about. And so it's pretty black and white. It's laid out. It shows you where it's possible, and so it's exciting. So that'll maybe guide our next purchase. I know it'll guide our next purchase.
In this area for sure.
I mean, it doesn't mean that we won't buy something different, but it definitely will be a part of our.
Because then we know where to look. We know what to look for. Hopefully that helps some people with if they're interested in it. There's a lot of people that are doing Airbnbs and they didn't get the proper permits and
it happens in other cities, and what happens is the city will come after you eventually if they catch you and you get fined, and then it will go to court.
In our city too, there's a fee that you pay. There's a registration fee, or
it's the same
yearly?
It's the same as like our fee that we just paid, the $100 for being a landlord. What's it called?
Yeah,
but it's a transient. It's a
these are transient rentals. Yep,
it would be a transient rental, and then that permit would be $500 a year.
Yep,
for having that. So it's just categorized under something different because it's short term, and then it would be what would be considered long term would be anything over 30 days.
Right.
From my understanding. But check with your city. We're not experts in it by no means, but it's definitely something you want to think of.
Don't completely listen to everything we say. Do your research because, like I said, we're no experts in this arena either, and we're kind of figuring it out as we go.
I'm pretty confident about what we just said, though.
We know those things about our city. But cities outside of here, I have no clue how they're doing it.
Well, and things change too. I mean,
things do change.
Like when you sent me the article about it, they were opening discussion about how do people feel about the Airbnb and what blah, blah. So even with the ruling now, that doesn't mean it can't change. It depends on what we want as a community. So to me, there's still room for change there.
Yeah. In our city too, what they do is if we do get approved for zoning for business residential, right?
Yes.
They send letters out in a specific radius.
I believe
of
it was
area
300 feet. They'll send that out, and there's a whole
property owners in this area to let them know that there's going to be an Airbnb or a transient rental, which is a short-term rental,
and that they're rezoning. So they do all that.
Rezoning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we've talked to a couple of our neighbors already, or one. I've talked to two, and one is across the street is comfortable, and the other gentleman next to us I didn't really discuss that, but he was open to, it's a rental, so he's not too worried about it. Yeah. He's not living there, so
we'll see.
I don't think we'll get too much pushback.
It's like more commercial and less, and then the rest are multi-family units.
Yep. I was shocked when I seen the map of Sandusky how many multi-family unit homes.
I wonder if that's common in most cities like that.
I don't know.
Because I had no clue. And when you look around, like some of these houses look like single families, but then when you pay attention, you notice that there's
a back door or a side
more
door.
Than one family, like a backside to it.
Yep. Yeah, I was shocked. I had no clue.
No.
I kind of started getting that feeling when we looked because of numbers. I was finding some data on rental, and we were doing like what rent might cost in the area and what the average rent was and how many units there were. And there's some free, when you're going online, you can find some free data sets that show up. And I really don't know how accurate they were, but they seemed reasonable and they seemed within the realm of what we were looking at. Like I'd see those numbers, and then we talked to people, and they kind of matched up. I'm like, oh, okay, that probably makes sense, So it's amazing how much stuff you can find online and read. That's credible too, because that was credible information. I just don't know how they're pulling those data sets, I guess is my point.
Right.
But we had decided to do this a year ago, and we moved forward. And right before winter, we were able to get in here and really work hard for 30 days. It was a straight 30-day working.
A month.
Yeah.
Just straight working. We documented everything too. So eventually we're going to have our, like a video showing the progress of everything that we did.
That was actually kind of fun.
On our first
It was so
place.
funny because we'd be working and we'd forget. Like, gosh, shit, we didn't set the camera up for those.
And so where Joe and I come from, like, again, we have a background in like business. I mean, photography, video. We've also had jobs sporadically here and there.
I've done a lot of shit.
I think you've kind of bounced around more than I have.
Oh yeah.
I've kind of just stuck with business for the most part. Like,
I'm also a little older than you, so I've
and I guess what I'm getting at is we just now got into this, like the whole investing side of things, where I didn't really think, I had thought about it before, but I had always heard negative things when it comes to real estate investing, like I've always told you. And it just clicked for me one day, and I started investigating it and researching it. And I was like, you know what? This is fucking one of the smartest things you can do. And the beauty of today is like you have all of these outlets. So like YouTube, you can read and learn anything online, and that's kind of what sparked it, because I started listening to other people and not listening to like the naysayers.
That's a great point. Yeah, you can
the negative mindsets.
You can find other people that are successful and not just listen to people that haven't done something and they tell you, "Oh, don't do that." You can actually find people that are doing it and that are successful
and having a great time doing it. So
well, and even like I was telling my dad, like as we were moving forward. He's like, even if you and Brad don't do anything more right now, you've cut your overhead.
Yep.
And we have. I mean, we're really fortunate to have an individual who came with the property as far as she was renting here for many, many years. And and she pays on time or every month.
Yep.
And just that, cutting her overhead by, separately. Yeah. Like if Brad and I were to live separate, like most of the places we lived in were the last place that I came out of was $1,200 a month. You came out of one that was over in Cleveland. So, just that savings right there.
Yeah. We've been renting for how many years?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So,
which is not bad. I mean, it's not bad to rent because then you don't have to worry about, there's nothing wrong with that. Tank. Yeah. You don't have to worry about all the expenses of owning a property.
Right. So, but my point is like even the first year, with Brad and I cutting overhead and hacking to live here and to get it ready for the Airbnb or whatever we choose to do or however the zoning works out, we've saved thousands of dollars the first year.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're talking like, if it was separately, 14,000 was, even if I took 8, you know what I mean? Like we're saving 16,000 this year. In reality, our resources that we don't have to work either as hard to get that money to give it to somebody else, and we're keeping ourselves. So, to me, how can that be negative? Like, I wish I'd have done this 20 years ago, but that's okay. You know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of fear that comes with it. Like I've said, with anything when it comes to not having the security of a 9-to-5 job,
Well, yeah.
Like there's fear with owning your own business when you're starting out. Yeah. I had a lot of fear and anxiety.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It can be nerve-wracking.
Getting into something like this, like putting yourself in a position where you have $100,000 mortgage or $200,000, whatever it is.
Yeah. Could be $1 million.
Yeah, there's fear that comes with that. So you get in your head, and people tend to think of the negatives more than they do of like the positives of it. They're like, oh well, what if this happens? What if that happens? But how are you ever going to figure that out if you don't fail in some way? And
we have, and that's a good point.
And failures,
because we have failed.
Like when you hear the word failure, it doesn't mean that you're kaput, you're done.
Yeah. No, it just means,
it means they're just tiny little steps that you have to take. Some move you a little backwards, but you just keep going forward.
Well, adjustments. You do adjustments once you learn something's not working, you just adjust it. You know, or you apologize for it. If you're dealing with a client, it doesn't quite go the right way, you adjust. You say, you eat that one, or you try to do better, or you do whatever it takes to correct that problem. You know what I mean? And that's it. But we failed over a decade working together. We failed a bunch, but we also,
but it's not,
we've
that
had
bad.
more successes
it's just
than
a
we
process.
have
It's part of the process.
failures, I think.
Yeah.
And I think because we care about our craft, when we're doing video production for somebody, we care that we're doing a good job. If I'm doing photography, we care that we're doing a good job.
And you'll never stop making those mistakes over time. There's going to be little mistakes you're going to make, and just part of life in anything that you do. It doesn't even have to be like in business. It could be in just your everyday life and dealing with people.
Well,
and family and friends.
Or your work.
Work, yeah. So,
I mean, there's plenty of times when I was teaching. Well, you were been friends with me the whole time I was teaching too, and I failed a bunch at that job. I'd come home and tell you stories, and like, I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I don't know if, you know what I mean? Like, and I'd just go back in and try, and and there was many times that I was doing something new, like teaching, because I didn't have a teaching background. I was teaching kids with autism, and I just had to continually learn and try and fail, and that doesn't work. And I stayed in contact with a couple individuals that had done it longer and knew more, and you just learn, and so.
And another thing, it goes with saying, with that today, like, look what we're doing now. This is our first podcast episode, and this is another fear that I have, because I'm like, this, Joe, I've talked about this many times. It's like, I'm the guy behind the camera. To put myself in front of the camera and then
it's a huge
post
step for
this
you
publicly.
Yeah, it's a huge step.
Like, it's super anxiety induced. In order to overcome those things, you got to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. And that's what I've learned over the years. It fucks with your mind in the short
it does.
term, but as you continue to do it, it kind of fades with time.
Well, and you become
more comfortable in those situations.
You brought up a good point though about failure, and it's like you keep trying even though it's uncomfortable, and like what your perception of self sometimes is different than what I see.
Yeah.
So an example of this would be, being a terrible communicator. That's one of Brad's sayings, but he's not. I mean, like,
I thought you were going to say I was a terrible communicator.
But that's like the perception. But he has gotten a great deal better at it. And so, but that's because you keep trying it. And putting systems in place that make it easier for you. Like Brad one of the things I notice about you, which I like, and I want to maybe adopt a little bit this year when I'm talking to clients, and I have with the document that we set up for cold calling schools, put some notes in there, but you put bullet points. I seen you before you were going into a meeting or a conversation the other day, you wrote down like 5 or 6 bullet points because your personality, like, you're going to need something to anchor yourself back to.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's a great way to think, where I'm kind of more just kind of go with the flow back and forth on the conversation, which is part of, that's okay too. Like that's, so I guess my point is that even though you're not good at something, you can find ways to fine tune it so that you can be acceptable or better or improve it on it. And I admire that you keep trying, even though, like you're saying, like, this is a big step for you. It's a big step for me. I don't want to be, nobody wants to look like a fool on camera. Nobody wants to, like I told you the other night, a little more rough than I'm going to say it now, is like, it's like when I watched friends record albums, some guys would get hung up on certain tracks because it's like, it wasn't quite like how they wanted, and they would redo it and redo it and redo it. And I'm sitting there going, all right, I hear that, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, I didn't see it the same way, as the musician saw it.
Yeah.
There's some permanency to wrapping this podcast up and then uploading it. And there it is. Somebody can comment on it, you know? So it's uncomfortable.
And that's like one of the big things for me is improving in my communication skills. Not that I'm terrible at it, but I do have anxiety, like, in certain situations. I think this will help me personally. And also, I think we have a lot of valuable information we can
I think it'll be fun.
Put out there,
If we can become good at it.
Yeah.
And maybe we could wrap a community around us to talk about different subjects and different things that are going on or things that we're interested in. And
like this isn't the only subject that we're into. We're into many different subjects. Like, it's not just about like finances and business. I mean, that's going to be a big portion. I think we'll talk a lot about that. And
I'd also like to talk about how we're like, different things that might happen. Maybe
but
we're working on a project
there's
and
so many other
learn
subjects.
something new about what we're doing with video, or we learn something new about photography, or we learn something new about some of the other things that we're into and we're not discussing tonight, you know, being that this first episode, we're going to just kind of go with the flow and get comfortable with it. But I would say sitting here with you tonight, even though the setup is a little uncomfortable, I feel like the conversation was the best we've had since we started this.
Yeah. I think
it's more true to how we talk. It's not how we.
Well, it's not how we really talk. I mean, this isn't me completely opening. I think the first episode we did was more comedic and humorous, and there'll be some of that once we get settled in and comfortable. And
it might not be extreme like we are behind closed doors, because we have a pretty raw humor. Like not much offends Brett, you or me.
No,
you would be hard pressed to offend us.
Yeah,
but. You know, some things are public and some things aren't. So,
yeah.
How long have we been on so far, Brett?
I don't know. I haven't been
7:09. So I don't even know what time we started.
I don't think it was that long, but
right there,
like an hour. Yeah. So,
it's nice to have that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at my end of my coffee.
But yeah, like on this show, I don't even know what we're gonna call it, but we're gonna have some guests on. I think we're gonna call interesting
it the
people.
Elusive Noodles.
Elusive Noodles. Yeah, we were talking about that. We got some shop a lot at Aldi, and there's these noodles. They're like the generic Lipton brand. Like that's all broth and tiny tasty, little like half-inch noodles.
You can't get those noodles out of the pan and with a spoon for nothing. Man.
Scoop those bitches out. It's like, oh, you scoop it and you're like, where's
nothing
the noodles?
Comes, it's just broth.
And they hardly put any in there anyway.
Yeah.
It's like
there's no substance to that.
No, I think it's all about the broth.
We might have to look into buying egg noodles to put in there.
Like well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like make a little
some
separate
kind of noodles. Yeah. Elusive noodles.
Elusive noodles.
They're very elusive.
It's our band.
Yeah. So,
was there anything as we started with this place that kind of threw you, like that you didn't expect when we bought this place?
I hope I'm not off frame. I don't think I am.
It's pretty wide.
Is there anything?
No, because the album's in the.
Yeah.
You should be fine. There.
Yeah. Okay. That's a completely different subject.
Yes.
We'll get into those subjects at some point. But is there anything? So you asked me, is there anything that I wasn't expecting that I got in that when we got into this place? Like any, like.
The process, like
problems or just
anything, like as we were buying the place or as we were looking, or was there anything that was difficult or easier than you thought it was going to be, or I don't know, anything you can think of?
Well, so growing up, I've always helped my dad. My dad's a jack of all trades. You know this. I've always helped him.
Yeah,
with construction,
he knows a lot of things,
electrical stuff, but I don't know as much as him. I can do a lot. I'm handy, I think. So like coming into doing this, a lot of it was pretty familiar to me, but again, like I didn't do it on my own. I always had him to help, or I was usually holding things for him, hammering some nails, you know, but I watched, you know, and the floors, there wasn't really anything with the floors that it's a lot of work. I'm not going to say it's not.
Sanding these floors.
Sanding the floors was probably the most work we did.
I actually got hurt from the edger that I hyperextended that one knee for 2 or 3 weeks.
One thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is probably kind of changing the subject, but with the floor, like when you see it in the light, it looks like there's like divots and things. Yeah. And I don't know if that's how the wood was or if that's like from sanding it. I don't know. I'd like to get Gary over here. It was a friend of ours that does, I wish I could remember the name of his company, but he does wood floors and he kind of consulted with us and told us what to do. And he spent like an hour and a half with us. Yeah, he spent a lot, which was super generous of him to do that.
Yeah. And we offered to pay him for
What's
consulting.
his company's name? Give him a little plug.
I know. I want to find. We'll have to put it up somehow and find it.
Yeah, I don't know what his company's name is. You know him better than I do. But
yeah, and I can't think of the name of his company right
now.
We'll
shoot him a plug one of these days. Maybe we'll have him on.
But it was really nice of him because we offered him a consultant fee and he didn't take it. He came over for an hour and a half and he stayed pretty much on target, telling us like little details of what you can do to do better at sanding down a floor.
Yeah.
I was like, holy hell, thank you
so much.
There
was so much more to it than I even realized with like the angle that you sand, what kind of sander you're using, how many grits of sandpaper that you use.
How you step it down, the machinery, how you use the machinery,
finishing
how you feather things in. And the one edge along there, I mean, we know every inch now, but like you're saying, I see that. And I also see along the edge there where it didn't feather in right, but that's our first one,
To get back to what you were saying, is there anything that I didn't expect doing this? Off the top of my head, I don't know that there.
Well,
I knew there would be some challenges. I mean, in any property you're fixing up on your own, there's going to be challenges, especially if you're not like a pro in all those.
And I'm talking purchasing areas. And all that. Like
purchasing.
I'm talking everything. Like, was there anything that stood out that was either easier or harder or, a little more confusing?
Well,
or,
I think
because there was a couple things that are still confusing to me about the purchasing of the home. You know what I mean? Even though we did it and we made it through and blah, blah,
blah. So when we put our down payment, when we paid that, we got some money back. And I can't remember exactly why we got that much back.
I don't know. It was like $3,000.
Yeah. And I don't know what were we thinking it was? What was that? I can't remember.
I don't
exactly,
remember now, but we put 20% down on the home and then we ended up getting money back.
So we paid, we offered 90 originally, and then we ended up paying 85,000 for this property.
Right.
And then 20% of that was like 18 or something like that.
I don't remember, yeah. And then we got money back. Then we got $3,000 check. So I don't even know what the hell
it was all about. We got more than that, I think.
Yeah.
It was over $3,000.
Yeah.
And I know were some other costs.
Yeah, I was really confused about that. I just accepted it and rode with it, and it's all documented on paperwork. And I said, okay.
With that, I mean, even our lender said that she's very conservative with the numbers that she gives you. So, that was great for us because that was something unexpected.
Yeah.
That you were saying. We didn't expect to get.
Well, and the $5,000
that much back
down on the house, and we won't go into that tonight because it's kind of I wouldn't say it's negative, but we don't need to go into it. We got the gentleman who owned the house previous to us come down $5,000. We got $3,000 back on however that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But basically coming down on the $5,000. We talked about we spent maybe $2,500 right now with the $5,000 that came down. Really, when we're all said and done, we're going to be pretty close to maybe $8,000, I think, on the whole house. I hope, to get it ready ready for Airbnb. Maybe a little bit more because we're going to have to stage the downstairs and the upstairs. So, lightly at first, but yeah. So it was.
Learned some new things with the boiler unit.
Oh,
that we didn't expect. Yep. Like we had. As soon as we took ownership of this place, we talked to the tenants that lived here. They said, "Oh, we haven't had any issues, and if there was anything, it was very minor."
In 10 years.
So, like, what was it like the first week?
I think the first week.
One of our tenants calls us
72 hours or something like that.
That her heat wouldn't kick off.
Yeah, I was on a walk in the morning.
Went in and it was like 85, 90 degrees inside. The heater was constantly.
I misunderstood her. I thought it wasn't coming on at all. Because I was on a walk. I was on an early morning walk. I'd been staying over in Wakeman with my family, my mom and dad. And so I was on a walk. And sometimes I'm not great at details. And I'm terrible at reading. So when I looked at the text, I didn't see on. I thought it was just off.
Mm-hmm.
So we called somebody. But had I known it was stuck on, I would have been a little more concerned, number one. But yeah, so.
Yeah, so it's a boiler unit. So it's basically water lines that run through the boiler, heats the water up. And that's how you heat your place. And then there's baseboards that the water lines run through and they heat up, and that's what generates your heat in your units. But so we came and we couldn't figure it out. We were like, why isn't it cutting off? And we figured maybe there's something wrong with the thermostat. So we called Gilbert's Heating and Air Conditioning.
And you figured out how to shut the system off with the switch because it has a switch.
Yeah, there's like main switches on each unit. So each boiler unit.
Brad's like, I think this is it. And you're like, I'm gonna call. You called.
I wasn't sure. I was like, eh.
You called your dad, and he's like, yeah, you can shut it off. And so you hit the thing, and it shut it down. But so that was.
Well, I think was that my dad or was that Gilbert?
No, you called your dad first.
Oh, okay.
Because we traced back the electrical line. You found it, and then you hit the switch off, and we cut it off. But anyway, so
we called them. They came out, and he's looking at the unit. He's like, he couldn't figure it out right away. He had to pull the front panel off, inspect it, and figure out what the problem was. So to make a long story short, eventually he found that he's like, yeah, it looks like something was chewing on your wires potentially and broke the connection to your thermostat.
And
right?
And the only problem with that is that it runs into a crawl space, which is really not accessible.
You can't really crawl in it.
So we just had him hook up a new
crawl space that you
closer
can't crawl
to
in.
the thermostat. It's not to the center of the home, but she said it's been working fine for keeping them warm. So
all he did was, like Joe was saying, he moved it closer to where he could run the lines easier. And
so we got to learn a bunch about that because of that. So then the lady upstairs that used to be here
after that
said it was working fine, no problem. She had kicked it on, great, right?
Well, she did say,
early when we, yes, go ahead.
Like it didn't seem like it was staying.
But this
she said it was drafty up here.
This was before she kicked it on, tested it. This was from the year before. She said that it was kind of drafty up here. But anyways, yeah, you're right. So great, upstairs works fine.
And when the guy inspected it, like it wasn't kicking on right away for some reason, and it's probably because of what we're about to get into, what the issue was. And so when the inspector came, he was testing to make sure the heat worked in this upstairs unit, and it wasn't kicking on. He thought it wasn't working, but he waited longer, and then eventually...
That was the inspector you're talking about?
The inspector, yes.
Not the person fixing it?
Not the heating and air
conditioning. So
company.
Hindsight, going back, we had Gilbert, which is a heating and cooling...
Gilbert's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Yep.
They've been in the city for a long time. But.
So the first trip out might have cost us more than it should because I was asking the guy a lot of questions and kind of held him over, and they charged us for it, which is fine. So basically we took a boilers class for another $85.
Yeah,
but I was okay with that. Yeah. And he had mentioned that there might be air in the lines, and sure enough, we get a phone call. How much after that did we get a phone call from the upstairs unit? Like 2-3 days later?
It wasn't
a week.
It was when it started. It was during the fall, and it's when it was starting to get chilly.
It seemed like we just had them out,
but it wasn't long after the downstairs unit.
Whatever the time frame was, it wasn't long. And so we're like, man, you gotta be kidding me! Like everything's fine. We buy this place, and now it's gonna be a money pit.
So she said she contacted us and said it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And it wasn't like that cold out yet. It was getting chilly. It was like, fall weather.
Yep.
Maybe 50s, low 60s, maybe.
Yeah, it was starting to get chilly.
I don't even think it was in the 50s.
Yeah, but it was enough to where
maybe at night it was getting in the 50s. Yeah,
bump up the heat a little bit to stay comfortable.
So we came over the next day, right?
Because she was
as soon as we could.
She was okay with whatever we set up. We set something up with her and came over, and then
called Gilbert's. We came up here, checked it out.
We came up to see if we could find. I don't remember.
Well, no, we went downstairs first, right? Check out the boiler to make sure.
Yep. To see if it was kicking on or off or whatever was going on.
But eventually we had to call Gilbert's.
It was.
Couldn't figure
it was
it out.
on.
It was on. Yeah.
So they came in, and what it found out was there was air in the lines. So they had to. There's no bleeders on these, which there's like a little. In some systems, you'll have like where you can bleed them and let the air out. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't have that.
No.
So they had to manually flush it, run a hose out the back door and flush it out. Once they did that, put it back together, everything's been working fine. And I wonder now that she said, like what you brought up, that she had told me that you didn't hear, and I was telling you later down the road, was that she said that the place was drafty up here. Mm-hmm. Well, the windows are good. This place has decent windows.
Yeah, they were taped up though when we came in here. Maybe they thought.
Well, because they couldn't figure out how to push them up and latch them. I think.
Oh, yeah. So they weren't.
Yes,
yeah,
there was a couple that weren't. Yeah,
yep.
Those are hard to do. So they were taping them up and didn't understand how to operate their own window, which is sad. And there was air in the line, so probably was cold to her. But since we've been here,
no, it's been fine.
It's
like
very
this
consistent.
heat's super consistent.
Yeah,
it's quiet. It does make like boiler systems. They do make noise. You hear a lot of ticking and tacking, but it's not bad. It's not like a furnace kicking on and blowing air.
No, I like it.
And it's comfortable. It doesn't get dry up here. I think it's, from what I hear too,
you're not. Yeah,
it's a boiler unit.
Yeah, we're not. It's not forced air.
It's not as dry of air that's coming up. But
yeah, I don't wake up dry in the morning or anything like that. So I do like. I actually was a little nervous about purchasing a place with boiler, but talking to my family as I was doing the process, they're like, my father said years ago when they were early on when they were married, they rented a place that had a boiler. And he said it was the best seat they ever had. So I was like, oh, okay, well.
And one thing we learned that day was, I think whoever owned this before wasn't regularly, yearly, bleeding their lines. And he told us that it's smart to do it every year on a yearly basis to bleed your lines. And it doesn't take them that long to do it, so it doesn't get too expensive.
Well, and there's no bleeder on this, so we need to put a bleeder on this upstairs here.
And it pays for itself to take care of that.
Too, so we need to look at that.
So that's something that people should do, I think.
I think we'll look at that at the end of the season when we're not running the boiler anymore. We'll have a bleeder put in.
Yeah.
Or we'll do it.
Yeah. Or you can put the bleeder system in.
Yeah, because he said do it right above the steps. Right there is where he would suggest putting that in.
We also like painting the place. So I've painted before, but I'm not like a professional at it. It's still, there's a learning curve. You figure things out. Once you figure it out, it's not that difficult. But like edging, like I was trying to go along the ceiling on the wall, edging the paint, and I kept fucking up.
The little brush.
Yeah, with the little brush.
there's a
occasionally I would like, and I'm pretty steady with that stuff. I'm pretty good and detailed with that, but it's a pain in the ass and it took forever. So I'm like, and I should have done this from the beginning. Like I said, I should have just taped the ceiling off. Yeah.
Live and learn. But it was so funny. We have a time lapse where I'm trimming off the one room and Brad's with his little foam brush trying to get it, and
Joe's like halfway around the room and I'm still in the same area.
The time lapse is hilarious.
He was painting the walls. Like what were you painting? Or what were you edging?
I was edging the whole room.
The trim, the lower trim, right?
No, I was edging everything, like the corners,
but not the ceiling.
Not the ceiling, and
you
the
were
trim.
edging everything else.
Everything else. So I had almost got done with the whole room, and we were in the doorway. But anyways, like not a big deal. But later that evening, we were sitting looking at the footage. Man, I still laugh about that. We're sitting in like camping chairs because that's all we had here.
Yeah,
I was almost in fucking tears.
Like, fuck it, I am taping that ceiling off, and it was way quicker that way. And it's not always perfect. And we have an old house, so there's imperfections in, I mean, not everything's perfectly straight along the edges. Because it's plaster and there's some spots that kind of stick out a little more than others.
For the most part, if you walked in, it's pretty damn tight.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. But I'm saying like in a newer house, everything's like straight with flat drywall, and this is an older house, so sometimes it's a little harder to edge those details in older homes.
Yeah, but I think when you look at it visually, it's pretty damn straight.
It's character, right?
Yeah. Some places had a little more character than I wanted. So the short and long. So you're kind of, those are the kind of some of the areas I thought to myself surprised about or had to learn about and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It was also one of the things, I had a guy that I grew up around come out and do the roof, look at the roof for an inspection, and it had 5 more years left on it in his opinion. And so that was good to get that inspected. But we've noticed, I don't know, I went outside today. Did you notice have you been outside where we put the salt down where the one gutter's mounting onto the sidewalk? There's still some salt out there. So
what now? I mean, yeah, I know the water drips out of that gutter.
Well, it's been so cold, so nothing's melting. But once it warms up a little bit, probably should put a little more salt out there so nobody gets hurt. But yeah, so we're gonna have to get those fixed. So that was a little surprised by the gutters in a couple places.
And that's another thing with properties. If you have any gutters that are leaky or not pitched right and they're overflowing onto anywhere where there's concrete or even against the foundation of your house, get that fixed immediately, because that will fuck your
what fucked this up
foundation or your sidewalks or whatever you have up.
Yeah.
Just that water. You don't think about how fast that can deteriorate your foundation or anything that water is flowing into.
You can certainly see it here too, like in the areas that is happening at. Like it's really messed up and cracked, and like the expansion, and it has ruined the sidewalk up here.
And like you said, even between the house here, there's like a little alley that goes between our property and the neighbor's property. And I think that's important that we kind of dig that out so that it drains away from the house.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to make a little trench there is what I'm going to do.
Maybe, yeah. So we'll do that.
So
but
that
yeah,
it has
water,
a place to flow. Yeah.
If you don't take care of water issues, man, that is...
Years ago, I dug my whole family's backyard up because their backyard would not drain. And I was walking in their backyard and I heard this water gurgling. Like after we had a big rain, I'm like, what the hell is that? And I looked down and the water is like spiraling like a bathtub would in the yard, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there was an old field drain there, like the square D, like the clay tiles that linked up out to the road. So I dug all that up, fixed the crushed one, and then I put in field tile in their backyard. I had a guy come in and dig a trench and put that in. And what a difference that made. Like Dad used to have to wait forever to mow the lawn, and that, that drains the water now. And so I noticed this last couple of years, like it not working as good as it used to. So I don't know. That was 20 years ago. So maybe
where was that at again?
In my parents' backyard.
Oh, okay.
I put that in because
you were telling me about that before. Yeah,
it would rain and it would just puddle back there and sit, and it would take, depending on the weather, it would take days and days and days to be before you could even walk in the yard again.
Yeah.
So once I did that, it drained right away, and you'd be able to walk out there that day.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, we've learned a ton, and still a ton more to learn.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot, and we didn't even touch on everything we've learned so far.
No. Be other time for that though.
Well, I think this setup was a little uncomfortable, but good. I think
this setup might change a little bit. I tried to get a little fancy with it, put my little clap slate board up there. I don't know, make it look kind of interesting.
Well, I think this went much better than our last one.
Yeah, the last one I was not feeling it. I was just like,
I wanted to fucking karate chop you in the
Joe
throat.
Like fucking laid it to me a little bit.
Sorry.
I just let him do his thing, and Joe's kind of aggressive sometimes.
I can be pretty blunt.
He's like, yeah, man.
Yeah, well, anyways, I
was just like, all right, whatever. I think,
I'm really happy with this one, though. I think it went better. This one's going up. We are putting this somewhere.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Done.
I don't care. I'm putting it up.
That's the only way we're going to get better.
I know.
Episode 1 in the can.
And there's a lot of stuff that I've learned, and just coming from the backgrounds that we have, like with marketing and how to brand, social media marketing and all that, which helps big time if you're into anything, any kind of business. Dude, or even if it's real estate. Like there's so many benefits to it, and I think we have a lot of input that we can provide in that.
I was so excited this week when I was using the ad campaign I was doing. Mm-hmm. I'm not even good at it yet, but I'm trying to figure out ad campaigns to sell more stuff.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like, just that was the focus this week for me, this last, whatever. And I spent $15 and I ended up getting a phone call and had 2 inquiries. And I thought, wow, man, what a great ROI, like $15.
Oh, yeah, man.
To make
$15
X amount, which is like 140. It's going to be over 140 times return on investment. So, I mean, that's
little things you can do that some people don't think about. I'm sure a lot of people know this and know that it works.
But we haven't.
But we haven't really pushed too much in that direction. And actually, I mean, I've done it a few times, on a small scale, but not consistently.
No, and
in business, I'm not a super successful business owner. I have a small business. It's kind of, I could do better.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. And we're doing it. That's one of the things that when we decided to go full time, you and I and partner on the video stuff, is that we've decided to be at the editing station and do things. And we've been working on that now since September, kind of moving closer to doing this. So,
but there's certain areas we're good into, and then just adding other sources and streams of revenue and
just like the Airbnb, I think there's going to be other areas that we don't see now. You know what I mean? We're constantly trying to move forward. We're trying to do some other things and improve improve processes that we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll get better, and we'll fail at some other areas.
Yeah.
But anyways, I wanted to say it to you. I was like, so like, that's exciting to see that return, and you could sit there and
I know.
And I have before.
I could see the excitement in you because you wouldn't shut up about it.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you can sit there.
You
can sit there and like, how many times do you sit there and not do something, and then I did it and I was like, it's not perfect. It's not even probably right. There's probably a better way of doing it, but I still got to return.
Yeah,
and
but
like,
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. That's what I guess that's what I'm excited about, is that I just said, you know what, just do something. If it doesn't work, then you'll redo it and figure out another way. And it needs to be improved, but it still worked, I guess is my point. So, yeah. I love these headphones, by the way.
Yeah, they're comfortable and they sound good. These Sony, I can't remember the names. They're a staple in like video production, editing, and studio monitor headphones. Yeah, professional. What's the...
I can't read that.
So it's that shit. Let me see. Dynamic stereo headphones, MDR-7506. They're Sony's studio monitor professional.
It's funny, in that movie last night, that kid was wearing it, interviewing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
The reason I got them is I do a lot of video editing, and these are like some of the headphones that are top rated for editing. So
they sound great.
And they work great for this,
when you're making a bunch of noise and I'm over there, I can put them on and listen to music.
That's right. Same with you, too.
I know. All right, brother. An hour and 25 minutes. I feel...
Probably a little too long for first-timers, but fuck it.
I don't know. I don't give a shit.
Me either. Just do it.
Just do it.
Doesn't matter. Just do it.
So we don't have a name.
Like that guy. Just fucking do it.
Just fucking do it live.
That's all anyone needs to know. Just fucking do it.
We don't have a name.
Don't have a name, but we will.
We don't have an opener.
Nope, but we will. Should we have Steve do our opener?
I would love Steve to do our opener.
We'll see. It'll come. This is the first one. We do our 100th at the end of the year. Then, all right, man. Well, anyway, that's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
So if anybody listened to this episode, thank you.
Thank you. If you're going back to see how bad we were,
yeah, probably
congratulations.
Suck. You can talk shit if you want.
It's all right.
It's okay.
We got broad fucking shoulders.
That's right.
All right, well, it's a wrap.
Cut.